When you hear the word steak, a very specific image probably pops into your head. A thick, juicy cut of beef sizzling on a grill, maybe with grill marks and a little bit of smoke rising off the surface. It feels like a word that's always existed, as familiar as bread or salt. It turns out the word steak has nothing to do with cows at the beginning of its story. But have you ever stopped to ask a simple question? Why is it called steak in the first place? In fact, its meaning has shifted, traveled across languages, crossed borders, and slowly transformed into the food icon we know today. This isn't just a story about meat. It's a story about language, culture, and how everyday words evolve over time. So let's slice into it and uncover where the word steak really comes from. Right here, on History of Simple Things. The word steak didn't start out as food. Its earliest roots come from an old Scandinavian word, steek, which simply meant a roast or something cooked. It was more about the method of cooking than the ingredient itself. Back then, steak could refer to anything roasted over heat, meat, fish, or even other foods. The word described an action, not a specific cut or animal. Think of it as closer to the idea of roasting rather than a particular dish. This meaning made sense in early societies, where cooking methods were more important than fine distinctions between cuts of meat. If it was cooked over fire, it could be a steak. As Scandinavian cultures interacted with England through trade, migration, and conquest, their words traveled too. By the Middle English period, steak slowly transformed into steak, both in spelling and pronunciation. At first, English speakers still used steak broadly. It didn't mean beef specifically. A steak could be a slice of fish, pork, venison, or any thick piece of food cooked over heat. The key idea was a cut or slice, not the animal it came from. Over time, however, beef became more central to English-speaking diets, especially among wealthier households. As beef gained prestige, the word steak slowly narrowed its meaning and became strongly associated with beef cuts. One of the most important clues to the word's evolution is its connection to cutting. A steak was typically a thick slice cut across muscle fibers, making it easier to cook and eat. This is why we still use the word steak in foods that aren't beef. Fish steak, tuna steak, or even cauliflower steak all follow the same idea, a thick, deliberate slice meant to be cooked as a single portion. So at its core, steak doesn't mean beef, it means a substantial slice meant for cooking. Beef just happened to become the most famous example. As societies changed, so did food habits. In medieval Europe, beef became a symbol of strength, wealth, and status. Large animals meant more meat, and more meat meant power. Over time, the word steak became increasingly tied to beef because that's what people prized most. By the 18th and 19th centuries, when restaurants and butchers began standardizing cuts, steak had almost fully settled into its modern meaning, a premium cut of beef, cooked quickly over high heat. At this point, steak was no longer just food, it became an experience. Steak didn't earn its reputation by accident. In many cultures, beef was expensive and difficult to preserve. Eating steak meant you had access to fresh meat, proper cooking tools, and time to enjoy it. This is why steak became associated with celebration, success, and indulgence. Even today, people don't usually eat steak casually. It's saved for special occasions, restaurants, or weekends. The word itself absorbed that meaning. When someone says, "That's a real steak dinner," they're not just talking about food, they're talking about quality, reward, and importance. English is full of specific food words that evolved for convenience. Saying a slice of roasted beef takes effort. Saying steak is fast, clear, and emotionally loaded. Over time, steak became the shortcut word that communicated everything at once: thickness, cooking method, quality, and satisfaction. Language tends to keep words that do a lot of work, and steak is one of them. It's short, strong, and memorable, just like the food it describes. Interestingly, steak didn't stay confined to food. The word took on metaphorical meanings as well. When we say someone has a stake in something, it comes from the same root idea: something substantial, something important. Although spelled differently today, steak and steak were once closely related. Both referred to something solid, valuable, and worth protecting. That connection helps explain why steak carries such weight in language. It's not just nourishment, it represents value. Many old food terms faded away as diets changed, but steak survived and thrived. One reason is its adaptability. It adjusted to new animals, new cooking methods, and new cultures without losing its core meaning. Whether grilled, pan-seared, or broiled, whether beef, fish, or plant-based, the word steak still makes sense. It describes form, not just flavor. That flexibility is rare, and it's why the word continues to be relevant centuries later. So why is it called steak? Because the word grew alongside human cooking, culture, and language. It started as a description of heat and fire, became a symbol of slicing and portioning, and eventually turned into one of the most iconic food words in the world. The next time you hear the word steak, remember that you're not just hearing a food label. You're hearing a word shaped by centuries of history, migration, and tradition. One that proves even the most ordinary words often have extraordinary stories behind them. Thank you for watching. If you have suggestions for our next video, feel free to share them in the comments below. We'll be sure to give you an acknowledgement for your contribution. If you enjoyed this video, please check out our other bingeable channels. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the history of simple things. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more stories woven through the smallest details.